The Europeans will never abandon Ukraine. Never.
World leaders are absolutely furious at Donald Trump and his regime. That was French President Emmanuel Macron at the Palace of Westminster as part of his state visit to the United Kingdom. He was speaking there in front of the British Parliament, making a very strong defense of Ukraine as the United States looks weaker and more isolated. Just by way of example, what's now an average night for Ukraine cities, it's midnight last night when this was posted by the Kyiv Insider, and currently there was around 220 Russian-Iranian kamikaze drones bearing down on the people of Ukraine, their homes, their apartment buildings, and civilians. And one of the things that Donald Trump did was withhold a massive amount of Patriot missile systems from Ukraine, only for Donald Trump to then claim that he didn't know that his own regime stopped sending those Patriot missiles to Ukraine, and then they're blaming it on Pete Hegseth. It said Hegseth was the one who did it without the consent or permission from the Trump regime. It's absolute chaos in the Trump regime right now. Let me tell you about more data points how the United States has made the entire world furious. I guess the entire world other than Vladimir Putin, Iran, Kim Jong-un, and Xi Jinping of China, who are probably delighted to see the United States so weak. So Donald Trump announced yesterday, just randomly during this disastrous cabinet meeting, that he will be imposing a 50% tariff on copper, and he reiterated he will be doing 200% tariffs on pharmaceuticals. Now, Canada is a major exporter of copper to the United States, exported about $9.3 billion worth of copper in 2023, with a majority of that, 52%, going to the United States. China and Japan followed with 17 and 12% of Canadian exports, respectively. Now, in Canada, they now see the United States as a massive threat. According to a Pew Research study that was just released, 59% of Canadians view the United States as a major risk, according to the study. I just want you to think about that. 59% of Canadians view the United States as a major risk and now see the neighboring United States as the greatest threat to their country. As this article from Politico says, never mind Russia, North Korea, and Iran. A majority of Canadian citizens now see the neighboring United States as the greatest threat to their country. Right. Let me bring you back to the Palace of Westminster for this incredible speech by French President Emmanuel Macron. It very much also reminds me of the speech that I previously showed you of Prime Minister Mark Carney of Canada when he talked about the new defense pact between Canada and the European Union, where you had Carney saying, we are looking away from the United States towards Europe. Here you have the UK, which in Brexit left the European Union, and you have French President Emmanuel Macron, obviously a leading force in the European Union. And you see that this is all about bridging the gaps right here as America becomes weaker and more isolated. Watch this incredible portion of the speech from French President Emmanuel Macron as part of his state visit at the Palace of Westminster. Let's play it.
Creates the necessary conditions for robust and solid, lasting peace. I want to commend your country. Since the first day, and even before the first day, you were part of the closest ally of Ukraine. Training the army, being here the first day to protect President Zelensky, his government, and allowing their forces just to resist, as you did decades ago with my country. And together we worked very hard during the past few years in order to stand with the Ukrainian people, just helping them to resist. We were right and we are right. And because every time Vladimir Putin's Russia advances in Ukraine, the threat moves closer to us all. We will never accept the theory that might is right. And I want to be clear. This is why, together with you, Mr. Prime Minister, we decided to launch last February this coalition of the willing you mentioned. And this coalition was just the signal that the Europeans will never abandon Ukraine. Never. And whatever the decisions could be elsewhere, we will fight till the very last minute in order to get the ceasefire, in order to start the negotiations to build this robust and sustainable peace. Because this is our security and our principles together, which are at stake in Ukraine. This is the possibility of a Europe in peace. Our generation did enjoy during the past decade, which is at stake in Ukraine.
Now, speaking of Canada, I recently had former Member of Parliament and Leader of the Resistance, Charlie Angus, on my program. He said, look, one of the things that I think is so important right now is going to be for Canada to start basically buying drones from Ukraine in order to protect its borders from the United States. Here, play this clip.
But this is a very, very sick and dark exhibition. So when we look at this as the people that we're negotiating with, Canadians need to be really ready. We are upping our investment in military spending significantly. We are now procuring from the Europeans, whereas before we would have just gone to the United States as per usual and buy gear. We're not buying gear from the United States. I don't know what the Prime Minister's thinking, but if I was him, I'd be inviting over Ukrainians to start setting up factories so that we can set up those $100 drones, because it's our border, it's our waterways, our lakes, and our harbors that are now seriously under threat, because we don't know where Trump is going to go. I know in the media in Canada, they don't want to talk about that. They don't want to act like they're being hysterical. But when you're seeing a president of the United States setting up concentration camps and bragging about people being eaten by alligators, people whose only crime is they got picked up by ICE, then the idea that we can trust them at our border is simply not on. We have to start getting ourselves ready for what could be the next part of the playbook.
Now, here is also another clip from Charlie Angus, former Member of Parliament and Leader of the Resistance. He had a message to Donald Trump as well, saying how Donald Trump is bringing Canadians together. Let's play this clip.
Well, Donald Trump, I'm going to say this once and I might never say it again. I want to thank you. I want to thank you for bringing Canada together. It took such a malignant, narcissistic slug like you to make us put aside all of our differences, all our regional fights, all of our concerns with each other, and realize that we actually had to stand up for something better, which is standing up for the rule of law, standing up for democracy, standing up for decency. And we know that we're on your border and it freaks you out because you and your incel gang are so freaked out about diversity, equity, inclusion, your DEI nightmare. Well, we are your DEI nightmare, Donald, because Canada is always going to be a country of diversity. We will always be a country of equity. We will always be a country of inclusion, and we will defend the rule of law. And if you want to continue fighting with us, you are going to lose at the end of the day. I'm not saying it's not going to hurt us, but we are true. We are North. We are strong. We are free, and we are ready for this fight, Donald. So make up your mind. Quit your fighting on social media with us. Tell us what you're going to do, because we're moving on and we're going to stand and hold the line.
Now, also over the past 24 to 48 hours, the Foreign Minister of Denmark, Foreign Minister Rasmussen, was speaking. And he's like, look, if the United States wants to talk about a joint defense, okay. He goes, but if they want to talk about their taking over our sovereignty and conquering Greenland, ain't going to happen. Important to note that Denmark now is the leadership position in the European Union for this term. Here's what the Danish Foreign Minister Rasmussen had to say. Play this clip.
Well, we are still working to figure out what is actually the true American ambition. I mean, we realize, and I think we share the opinion, that the security situation in Arctic has changed. And we are ready to, and by we I mean the Kingdom of Denmark, the government in Greenland and Denmark are ready to cooperate with the American government to accommodate that. So if it's about security, it's about access to raw materials, it's about closer business relations, people-to-people contact, etc., we are ready to do our part. if it's an ideological vision about, enlarging the American territory, there's absolutely no way we can accommodate that, of course.
Another very powerful moment right here from French President Emmanuel Macron's speech. Although we talked about cultural and artistic exchange between the UK and France, it had a very more profound meaning, in my opinion, because they talked about the arts, they talked about culture, they talked about supporting people, basically liberal democracy, and to me it was a message towards Donald Trump as well. Here, play this clip.
As the Channel Tunnel is celebrating its 30th anniversary this year, let's make a wish here today. Let's not allow the channel to grow wider. Although there are 300,000 French people living in the United Kingdom and 150,000 British people living in France, there has been a decrease in movement in recent years when it comes to school, university, professional and researcher exchanges. And today there is a risk that our societies are growing apart, that our young people do not know each other as well and may end up strangers. At a time when international current events remind us on a daily basis of our common future. Let's fix it. Let's work together in order to facilitate the exchange of students, researchers, intellectuals, artists. This is so important. Let's allow our children to have the same opportunities as the one we had.
Now, here was a moment from Donald Trump's disastrous cabinet meeting yesterday when he was asked from Caitlin Collins of CNN, hey, question for you there, Donald. So who signed off on stopping the shipments of weapons to Ukraine from the Defense Department? Were you aware of this, Donald? And he goes, I don't know. You tell me. Here, play this clip.
So who ordered the pause last week?
I don't know. What did you tell me?
I think that's a question for the
Go ahead.
I don't know, you tell me. Are you kidding me? And here Donald Trump is asked the question, hey, Donald, I know you keep saying you're frustrated at Putin, but you said what back? First off, you said you would bring peace to Ukraine in 24 hours. You said you would be able to get Putin to bring peace to Ukraine, so obviously a lie there. And then also back in April you said in 2 weeks you would impose sanctions on Putin, which you then lied about. 2 more weeks. And then you had a call with Putin last week where right after that call ended, Putin escalated his attacks and killings and genocide of innocent Ukrainians in Kyiv. So he's playing you. He thinks you're a weak idiot, Donald. What do you say to that? The reporter didn't say weak idiot, I said that. But the reporter did say, it seems like Putin's playing you. Here's what Donald Trump said. Let's play this clip.
We're dealing with him now too. We're not happy with Putin. I'm not happy with Putin. I can tell you that much right now, because he's killing a lot of people. And a lot of them are his soldiers and their soldiers, mostly. And it's now up to 7,000 a week. And I'm not happy with Putin. Okay, any questions? Yes.
Yes, sir. You just said you're not happy with Vladimir Putin. Is there anything that you plan to do to act on that feeling of unhappiness?
Well, I wouldn't be telling you. Don't we want to have a little surprise? One of the things we did with the attack is that you asked that question. I didn't mean to be rude, but I'm rude because I'm looking at some of these crooked people up here. So I'm rude. But your question was asked very nicely. But one of the things we did is we went over every fact. We wanted to get every fact straight. We wanted to have the distance straight, the number of pilots straight. Everything had to be correct because this was a very important mission. If we failed on this mission, it was beyond the war that, obviously we had with Iran and Israel. A lot of hatred, a lot of years and years of hatred, centuries of hatred. People have never seen anything like it. So we wanted to be correct with all our facts. So what I was doing is just asking. It would be great if the media would be correct with their facts. That's all we ask for. So.
While all of this is taking place, one of the things that we learned as well is that one of Donald Trump's top advisors was actually born in the Soviet Union, somebody who is who had not agreed to go through the kind of normal background check, is what many people are saying. The top Trump advisor, Sergio Gore, actually was born in the Soviet Union. His name is not actually Sergio Gore, it's like Sergio Gorsvachevsky, and this is the guy who hires all of the people in the executive office. Very, very, very questionable stuff right there. So I wanted to give you all of those data points. Let me know what you think. Hit subscribe and let's